Do you remember me, human? The alien queen claimed to recognize me. The space station floated quietly in orbit around the bright blue planet, its metal surface reflecting the light of the distant sun. It was a neutral station, a place where traders, travelers, and engineers came from across the galaxy for repairs, trade, or simple rest. Lucas, he moved carefully along the docking bay, tools strapped to his belt, his hands coated with grease. The hum of machinery surrounded him, but in the midst of the usual sounds, there was a feeling in the air he could not explain, a sense that something extraordinary was about to happen. Lucas had spent years working on these stations. He had learned to anticipate the unusual, to expect the unexpected, and yet nothing could have prepared him for the moment a delegation of alien dignitaries arrived that morning. They were unlike anything he had seen before. The tallest among them wore flowing robes of iridescent colors that seemed to change with each movement. Her skin glimmered in faint shades of silver and violet, and her eyes were deep pools of gold, filled with intelligence and an emotion Lucas could not read. She moved with grace, but there was a weight to her presence, as though the room itself had shifted in deference to her. This was Saria, she, the queen of the Zalarian Empire, known across multiple systems for her wisdom, power, and unyielding command. Lucas froze, wrenching his thoughts back to the present. He had been called to inspect a freighter that was showing signs of engine stress. Normally, he would have ignored the diplomats. Interactions with royalty were not part of his daily work. But then her gaze found him and everything changed. She stepped closer, her golden eyes fixed on his face. For a moment, Lucas felt a strange chill run down his spine. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft but clear, carrying across the busy docking bay. "Do you remember me, human?" Lucas blinked. He shook his head, uncertain. How could he remember her? He had never met her before. The question was impossible. I don't think so," he managed to say, his voice rough from surprise. Her gaze did not waver. There was no anger, no accusation, only a quiet certainty, a knowing smile that suggested she already knew something he did not. "You will," she said simply, and turned away, signaling to her companions to move on. Lucas watched her go, his mind spinning. The words hung in the air, unexplainable, unforgettable. He shook his head again, trying to refocus on the freighter before him. The station's usual hum seemed louder now, the lights sharper, and the routine of his work suddenly impossible to follow. Every tool in his belt seemed heavier, every movement more deliberate. Lucas worked with a mechanical precision he had learned over the years, but his thoughts kept wandering back to her words. Who was she really? How could she know him? Hours passed, and the station began to fill with visitors from distant systems. Traders called out prices for goods, children ran along the corridors, and engineers repaired damaged ships. Lucas tried to ignore the distractions, tightening bolts and recalibrating engines, but the memory of her golden eyes would not leave him. There was a certainty in her voice, a confidence that suggested destiny or fate, something bigger than the simple task of fixing a freighter. Then the warning sirens began to blare. Red lights flashed across the station's walls, signaling an incoming threat. Lucas had seen emergency alerts before, but the urgency in this one was different. He glanced at the monitors. A fleet of unknown ships was approaching, moving in formations that suggested military precision. The station's security team scrambled to respond, but it was clear that they were outnumbered and unprepared. Panic began to spread among the station's residents. Traders shouted orders to their crews, children were hurriedly gathered by parents, and alarms blared continuously. Lucas felt his heart pound. He was not a soldier, he was an engineer, but instinct took over. He grabbed his toolkit, scanning the docking bay for the nearest point of safety, when he felt a firm hand on his shoulder. He turned and found Saria standing beside him once again. She did not look frightened, only focused. "We do not have much time," she said. "We must leave this station." Lucas opened his mouth to protest. Your skills will help us survive," she interrupted, her voice calm, unyielding. "Come." There was no room for hesitation. He followed her as she led the way through the corridors, her presence commanding, yet strangely reassuring. They moved quickly, ducking into maintenance tunnels and bypassing sections of the station under attack. The sound of explosions echoed through the metal walls, and the lights flickered. Lucas realized that if they did not act fast, they might not make it out alive. As they navigated the twisting tunnels, Lucas caught glimpses of the invading ships on his portable scanner. Their designs were alien, aggressive, unlike anything he had studied. Saria moved with confidence, directing him to access panels and open maintenance hatches. Her knowledge of the station's layout was impressive, and he could see that she had spent years learning systems like this, though it was rare for a queen to be so hands-on. Finally, they reached an escape shuttle hidden in a quiet docking bay. Saria keyed in a code and the small vessel hummed to life. The shuttle doors opened and Lucas helped her inside. She gestured for him to enter as well. Once inside, the interior lights glowed softly, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Lucas strapped himself in and began activating the shuttle's systems. He realized with surprise that the controls, while advanced, were not entirely alien. Saria observed silently, her gaze thoughtful. "You have a natural understanding," she said. Lucas felt a blush of pride mixed with embarrassment. I've repaired ships all my life," he said quietly. "Not like this," she replied. "Your thinking is different, creative, adaptable, qualities your people possess in abundance." Her words struck him. He had always considered himself ordinary, just another human living in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations. Yet she spoke as though humans were exceptional, capable of feats others could not imagine. The shuttle lifted from the station, slipping through the chaos outside. Explosions and beams of energy lit the docking bay behind them, but the small vessel moved smoothly, guided by Lucas' careful hands. Saria's eyes remained on him, her expression unreadable, yet filled with something he could not name. Recognition, perhaps, or a hope that he would rise to the challenges ahead. As they moved farther from the station, the hum of the shuttle engines filled the cabin. Lucas stole a glance at her. She was calm, almost serene, as though she had expected this danger. And yet beneath the calm there was power, command, the aura of a ruler who had faced threats far greater than he could imagine. "Why me?" he asked finally, breaking the silence. "Why not take one of your own?" Saria's gaze did not waver. "Because you are human, and humans have a way of surviving when all else fails. You see possibilities others cannot. You act when others hesitate. You may not remember me, but I have watched your kind for centuries." Lucas felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Centuries? That's impossible," she smiled faintly. "Time is different for us. What matters is not when, but that we are here now, you and I together." He struggled to comprehend her words. Yet, despite the strangeness of it all, a part of him felt a spark of excitement. Something bigger than himself was unfolding. A story that was larger than any human engineer could have imagined, yet somehow he was at the center. The shuttle moved silently through space, leaving the chaos of the station behind. Outside, stars stretched into long streaks as they accelerated, the blue planet shrinking behind them. Lucas allowed himself a moment to breathe, to consider the strange twists of fate that had brought him here. He had left home thinking he was just another human among the stars. Now he realized humans might be far more important than anyone had ever believed. Saria watched him, her golden eyes reflecting the distant light of the sun. "Soon," she said softly, "you will remember. And when you do, the galaxy will never look at humans the same way again." Lucas stared at her, feeling both fear and hope. The danger they had escaped was only the beginning. The questions she had raised, the recognition, the history, the promise of something more, filled his mind. And as the shuttle carried them toward the unknown, Lucas knew that his life, and perhaps the future of his species, had just changed forever. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly, promising adventure, danger, and discovery. Lucas gripped the edge of his seat, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. And beside him, Saria remained calm, a queen far from home, yet bound to a human by destiny, memory, and a future that neither could yet see. For the first time in his life, Lucas felt the true meaning of being human, not just surviving, but standing out, making a difference, and perhaps shaping the fate of the stars themselves. The shuttle drifted silently through space, leaving the chaos of the station far behind. Lucas, he could feel the tension in his body beginning to ease, though his mind was still racing. Every moment he had spent with Saria, since the station's attack, only deepened the mystery surrounding her words. He could not shake the feeling that she knew more than she let on, that she had seen something in him long before he had even understood it himself. Inside the shuttle, the cabin lights glowed softly, casting warm reflections on the polished metal surfaces. Saria remained seated, her hands folded in her lap, her golden eyes staring at the stars outside. She did not speak immediately, but Lucas could feel her presence like a constant, steady current beside him. There was power in her calm, authority in the way she simply existed, yet there was no arrogance, only focus, patience, and an unspoken understanding. Lucas finally broke the silence. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice low. "Are we safe?" Saria tilted her head slightly, her gaze meeting his. "Safe is relative," she said softly. "The fleet that attacked the station is powerful. They will not stop until they find us. But we are not without options. We must stay ahead, remain unpredictable, and most importantly, work together." Lucas nodded, feeling a mix of apprehension and determination. He was just an engineer, accustomed to fixing machines, not evading fleets or navigating political dangers. Yet her words sparked something within him, a sense of purpose he had never known before. He had survived countless mechanical failures, navigated storms, and repaired ships under impossible circumstances, but this was different. This was life and death on a galactic scale. Saria leaned forward slightly. "I know this may be overwhelming, but your skills are not ordinary. Humans have a unique way of thinking, creative, adaptive, unexpected. That is why I sought you out, not because of what you have done, but because of what you are capable of." Lucas swallowed hard. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary human, someone who could repair and maintain, but never as someone who could make a difference in the galaxy. Yet here he was, being told that his abilities mattered, that his ingenuity could shape events far beyond his own understanding. The shuttle hummed quietly as it traveled through the empty reaches of space. Lucas moved to the control panel, scanning for any signs of pursuit. "Do you have a plan?" he asked. Saria's eyes gleamed with determination. "We will reach a safe location, a place few know exists. There we can regroup, repair, and prepare. The Xylarian archives are hidden beneath the planet's surface. You will see why humans are important soon enough." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Archives beneath the planet?" "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "There are secrets in those records, knowledge that could change the course of this conflict. Your perspective will help me understand it in ways my people cannot." He paused, absorbing her words. Lucas had always worked with machines and systems, but knowledge hidden for centuries. That was a challenge unlike any he had faced. A thrill ran through him, a mix of curiosity, responsibility, and fear. It was the kind of challenge he had always longed for, though he had never imagined it would arrive in this way. As the shuttle approached the planet, Lucas felt the subtle pull of its gravity. The surface was covered in swirling clouds, bright oceans, and sprawling continents that shimmered in the sunlight. Saria activated the shuttle's landing sequence, guiding it toward a hidden docking bay concealed within the cliffs of a remote coastal region. The shuttle landed smoothly, the engines powering down to a quiet hum. Lucas unstrapped himself and followed Saria as she led the way into a tunnel carved into the cliffside. The interior was cool, dimly lit, but surprisingly welcoming. Ancient symbols lined the walls, glowing faintly with energy that Lucas could not identify. He had repaired many types of machinery, but this was something entirely different. Saria stopped and turned to him. "This place has been hidden for generations," she explained. "Few have ever walked these halls. It is a place of knowledge and of power, and now you are part of it." Lucas felt a mixture of awe and hesitation. The corridors stretched endlessly, and every turn revealed intricate patterns of light and technology he could barely comprehend. He ran his hand along the smooth walls, feeling the pulse of energy beneath the surface. How do you know all this?" he asked. Saria smiled faintly. "I have studied these archives my entire life, but knowledge alone is not enough. Insight, creativity, the ability to connect what is separate, that is where humans excel. That is why I brought you." Lucas took a deep breath, realizing that his life had changed in ways he could not yet fully grasp. He had expected to work on freighters, to travel from station to station, repairing engines and navigating bureaucratic systems. Instead, he was being entrusted with secrets that could influence the fate of the galaxy. As they descended deeper into the tunnels, the walls began to open into a vast chamber filled with holographic displays, floating data streams, and intricate devices that pulsed with light. Lucas stared in wonder. He had seen advanced technology before, but nothing like this. It was both beautiful and overwhelming, a testament to a civilization that had mastered knowledge over centuries. Saria guided him to a central console. "Here," she said, You will see records that even many Xylarians have never accessed. They reveal the history between our peoples. Centuries ago, humans helped prevent a disaster that nearly destroyed my empire. You do not remember this because the records were sealed, hidden, and lost over time. But the evidence exists, and now it is time for it to be revealed. Lucas leaned forward, his fingers hovering over the controls. He felt a wave of responsibility wash over him. The thought that his species had played a crucial role in the past filled him with pride, but also with uncertainty. He was just one human among billions. Could he truly make a difference now? Saria placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. You will see. Humans are capable of more than they realize. Your mind is not limited by tradition, by rules, by fear. You are adaptable, and that is why you are important. Lucas nodded, absorbing her words. Together, they activated the console. A holographic display flickered to life, showing images of humans and Xylarians working side by side centuries ago. Ships of strange design, massive cities, and battles he could scarcely imagine unfolded in the projections. He could see humans leading strategies, inventing devices, and making decisions that shaped the outcome of events that would have otherwise ended in disaster. He felt a surge of pride. For the first time, he understood that humanity's strength was not in sheer numbers, nor in brute power, but in ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Humans could rise to challenges that no one else could imagine, and in doing so, they could leave a mark on the galaxy unlike any other species. Saria's voice brought him back to the present. That is why I sought you, Lucas. The threats you see now, the fleet that attacked the station, are only the beginning. My enemies have discovered the potential of humans, and they seek to eliminate it. You are part of a new alliance, one that could determine the future of many worlds. Lucas took a deep breath. He had faced danger before, but never on this scale. Yet, for the first time, he felt capable. His mind, his hands, his instincts, they were tools just as important as any weapon. And with Saria guiding him, he could see a path forward, even through the uncertainty and danger. Hours passed as they explored the archives. Lucas learned about the hidden bonds between humans and Xylarians, the forgotten acts of bravery, and the ingenuity that had shaped centuries. Each discovery filled him with wonder, each revelation strengthening his resolve. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a participant in a story far greater than himself, a story of survival, strategy, and hope. As night fell over the distant planet, the chamber glowed softly with the light of the holograms. Lucas stood beside Saria, watching the stars through a narrow viewport. I never imagined humans could have played such a role, he said quietly. It changes everything. Saria smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of distant galaxies. It does, and now you have a choice. You can continue as you were, or you can embrace what your species is capable of. Together, we can face what is coming and ensure that humans are recognized not as ordinary beings, but as pivotal actors in the galaxy's future. Lucas felt the weight of her words. Fear still lingered, but it was accompanied by determination, excitement, and a sense of purpose. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers and challenges, but also opportunities. And for the first time, he felt ready to rise to the occasion, to prove not only to Saria, but to himself that humans were capable of greatness. The hours passed quickly as they prepared plans, studied maps, and discussed strategies. Lucas realized that the coming days would test him in ways he could not yet foresee. But with Saria by his side, with her knowledge and his ingenuity combined, he began to see a future where humans could not just survive, but thrive, where their abilities could shape the galaxy in ways others had never imagined. When they finally rested, Lucas stared at the stars, feeling a profound sense of connection, not just to Saria, not just to the Xylarians, but to his own species. Humans had always believed in exploration, in facing the unknown, in finding solutions where others saw none. That belief, that determination, had been recognized centuries ago and now had been called upon again. Saria looked at him, a gentle smile on her face. Rest now, Lucas. Tomorrow our work begins in earnest. You will see what humans can do. Lucas nodded, exhaustion tempered by excitement. For the first time, he understood that being human was not a limitation, it was a strength. And as he closed his eyes, he dreamed not of simple survival, but of shaping the stars, of proving that humans, ordinary though they might seem, could accomplish the extraordinary. The hidden archives beneath the planet were vast. more extensive than Luca's he could have ever imagined. Endless corridors stretched into darkness, lined with glowing panels, floating data streams, and strange machinery that pulsed with soft energy. Each step Lucas took seemed to echo through the vast chamber, reminding him that he was walking in a place few humans, or even Xylarians, had ever set foot. She led the way with ease, her golden eyes scanning the glowing symbols on the walls as if she could read them at a glance. "Follow me carefully," she said, her voice calm but urgent. "Some of this knowledge is fragile. It has been preserved for centuries, and only those who understand its value may touch it." Lucas nodded, feeling a mix of awe and trepidation. He had worked with advanced technology before, but this was different. These were not simple ships or engines. These were the records of a civilization, the thoughts and memories of generations, preserved for a purpose he was only beginning to understand. They entered a circular chamber, and Lucas' eyes widened. In the center hovered a holographic sphere, larger than any ship he had ever seen. Streams of light connected it to panels around the room, forming a web of energy that seemed alive. Saria approached the sphere and extended her hand. The holograms shifted, images of people, cities, and ships appearing in three-dimensional detail. "This," she said, "is the core of our archives. Here lies the history of the Xylarian Empire and the hidden role humans have played in shaping it." Lucas stepped closer, his fingers itching to interact with the controls. "I don't understand," he said. "How could humans have influenced your empire?" Saria turned to him, her expression serious. "Long ago, before most Xylarians were even born, your people faced a crisis that threatened my civilization. A war was looming, one that could have destroyed countless worlds. Humans, unknown to the rest of the galaxy, used ingenuity, bravery, and strategy to prevent catastrophe. The records were sealed after the threat ended, and your contributions were largely forgotten." Lucas stared, trying to comprehend. He had always thought humans were ordinary, clever in small ways, but never in a way that could influence galactic events. Yet here was evidence, glowing in three-dimensional form, showing ships piloted by humans leading daring missions, devising tools, and negotiating peace. He could see humans of different races, different nations, all united in moments that changed history. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I had no idea," Saria nodded. "Few do, that is why I sought you. Your creativity, your ability to see possibilities where others see obstacles is exactly what is needed now. History may have forgotten your ancestors, but the galaxy still needs humans." Lucas felt a surge of pride mixed with responsibility. He had always dreamed of doing something meaningful, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. He had the chance to continue the legacy of humans, to prove once again that they could make a difference in ways no one else could. Saria gestured toward a series of holographic panels. "Here, you can study the strategies, the inventions, and the actions that saved my people. And here," she added, pointing to a different section, "is knowledge that could help us now in the threats we face today." Lucas moved from panel to panel, absorbing the data. He studied the designs of advanced ships, the calculations of battle formations, and the mechanical devices humans had once built to solve impossible problems. He realized that humans had always relied on adaptability and creativity rather than sheer force. That was the secret of their power, the reason Saria had sought him out. Hours passed as they explored the archives. Lucas found himself drawn to a particular hologram, a human fleet confronting a Xylarian enemy far larger and stronger. The humans were outnumbered, yet they used clever tactics, misdirection, and precise engineering to turn the tide. He marveled at their ingenuity, feeling a connection to those long gone. "Your people have always surprised me," Saria said softly, standing beside him. "Even when forgotten, humans possess qualities that can change the universe. You will need to embrace that now, for the challenges ahead are greater than any past war." Lucas nodded, determination settling in his chest. "I will do my best," he said, "whatever it takes." Saria smiled faintly. "That is all I ask, and it is not just skill I seek. It is perspective. Humans see possibilities others miss. You will help me think differently, anticipate threats in ways my advisors cannot." Lucas felt a thrill of purpose. He had always used his mind to repair engines and solve technical problems. Now, he could apply that same skill to strategy, survival, and diplomacy on a galactic scale. It was a responsibility he could not take lightly, yet it invigorated him. As the day passed, the chamber began to dim. Lucas noticed a subtle vibration underfoot, a signal that the planet's surface above them was active. Saria's gaze sharpened. "We are not alone," she said. "Those who attacked the station may have discovered this location." "We must be ready." Lucas' pulse quickened. He had never faced enemies of this scale before, yet he felt a strange calm. Saria's confidence was infectious, and he realized that together they could face challenges far beyond what either could handle alone. Saria began to show him a set of hidden passageways leading deeper into the archives. "These tunnels," she explained, "hold more sensitive information. Only those who can think quickly and adapt may navigate them safely. You will lead the way." Lucas swallowed his fear and stepped forward, following her instructions. The tunnels were narrow, winding, and filled with unfamiliar energy fields. He used his engineering knowledge to manipulate the controls on the walls, opening doors, redirecting power, and ensuring their path remained secure. Each action reinforced what Saria had said. Humans could see solutions where others saw obstacles. Hours turned into what felt like days, and Lucas felt both exhaustion and exhilaration. He was learning not only about Zalarian history, but also about the potential of humans when faced with overwhelming odds. He realized that bravery was not just courage in battle, but the willingness to face the unknown, to act despite uncertainty, and to trust in one's abilities. Saria observed him silently, noting his adaptability, his thought process, and the steady way he approached challenges. "You are proving yourself," she said, "not just as a human, but as a leader, a thinker, someone who can bridge the gap between our species." Lucas felt a surge of pride. He had never considered himself a leader. He had always thought of himself as someone who followed orders, someone who fixed problems quietly behind the scenes. But Saria's words made him see that humans had strengths beyond what he had imagined. Creativity, courage, and adaptability could influence outcomes in ways he had never considered. As they reached a particularly secure chamber, Saria paused. The doors opened to reveal a massive holographic map of the galaxy, with countless points of light representing fleets, planets, and stations. "This," she said, "shows the current positions of the forces that threaten my empire. We must anticipate their moves, protect my people, and ensure the humans remain a hidden yet pivotal force." Lucas approached the map, his mind racing. He traced potential paths, calculated timing, and considered strategies that no Zalarian could imagine. The patterns began to make sense, and he realized that humans could provide the unpredictability necessary to counter these enemies. Saria watched him work, impressed by his insights. "You see solutions where others see only problems. That is why humans matter. That is why I sought you." Lucas felt a sense of purpose settle deep within him. For the first time, he understood that being human was not a limitation. Humans were capable of extraordinary things precisely because they could think differently, act creatively, and adapt to any situation. As the hours passed, they continued to study the archives, planning, strategizing, and preparing for the challenges ahead. Lucas felt a connection not only to Saria but to his own species, to the history that had been hidden from him, and to the possibilities of the future. Finally, as the chamber dimmed for the artificial night cycle, Lucas sat beside Saria, exhausted but determined. "I understand now," he said quietly. "Humans are more than I ever realized, and I want to do whatever it takes to help." Saria smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the soft light of the archives. "You already are helping. And together we will show the galaxy the true power of humans, not just as survivors, but as innovators, thinkers, and heroes." Lucas felt a warmth spread through him. The path ahead was dangerous, filled with enemies he could barely imagine, and challenges that would test every skill he possessed. Yet he also felt a sense of hope, pride, and determination. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and now, with Saria by his side, they would do so again. As he rested, Lucas thought of the fleet that had attacked the station, the mysteries of the archives, and the words Saria had spoken when they first met. "Do you remember me, human?" Those words no longer felt like a puzzle. They felt like a call to action, a reminder that humans were never ordinary, and that their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could shape the fate of the galaxy. Outside, the planet glimmered under the distant sun, vast oceans stretching beneath swirling clouds. Lucas felt a connection to the stars, to the humans who had come before him, and to the unknown challenges that awaited. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be human, not just to survive, but to influence, to lead, and to leave a mark that could last for generations. And beside him, Saria watched him, knowing that together they had the power to change the future. He could feel the tension in his chest as the shuttle lifted from the hidden docking bay. Above the planet, the Zalarian fleet was beginning to gather, massive ships of elegant design glowing softly against the backdrop of space. Lucas had spent hours studying the maps, predicting enemy movements, and preparing strategies, but seeing the reality of the fleet was overwhelming. Each ship was a technological marvel, armed and ready for battle, and Lucas realized that the coming hours would test every skill he possessed. She stood beside him in the command center of her flagship, her golden eyes scanning the holographic displays with calm precision. "You have done well preparing these strategies," she said, her voice steady. "But now comes the true test. Humans are known for their ability to adapt in unexpected ways. You must use that ability to help us gain the advantage." Lucas nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He was not a soldier, he was an engineer. Yet, as he studied the fleet, he realized that his human mind could approach problems differently. Where the Zalarians relied on tradition and established tactics, he could think creatively, inventing solutions that no one else would consider. The first wave of enemy ships appeared on the sensors, moving swiftly, organized, and threatening. Lucas traced their trajectories, noting weaknesses in their formation. "They are fast," he said, "but their patterns are predictable if we disrupt their signals. I can reroute our communication systems to confuse them, make them think our fleet is larger than it is." Saria raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Do it! We must act before they reach the planet." Lucas moved to the control console, his fingers flying across the interface. He adjusted the power distribution, created temporary interference fields, and rerouted communications. Lights flashed, and energy streams shifted across the fleet as his strategy took effect. On the holographic map, enemy ships began to veer off course, their formations breaking under the subtle disruptions he had engineered. Saria watched the changes unfold with a smile. "Your thinking is remarkable," she said. "This is why humans are indispensable. Where others see chaos, you see opportunity." Lucas felt a surge of confidence. His skills, once limited to repairing engines and maintaining ships, were now shaping the outcome of an entire battle. He realized that human creativity was not just useful, it was powerful, capable of turning the tide in ways no one else could. As the battle escalated, the enemy sent a group of stealth ships to flank the fleet. They moved quickly, attempting to strike the flagship directly. Lucas analyzed their approach. "If they reach the flagship, they could disable us instantly," he said. "But if we lure them into the interference field, we can trap them." Saria nodded. "Do it." Lucas coordinated the fleet, guiding ships to create a funnel. The stealth ships, believing the flagship was vulnerable, moved into the trap. Energy beams and magnetic fields diverted their path, and within moments they were immobilized. The Zalarians cheered quietly as the first wave of the attack was neutralized, all thanks to Lucas' unconventional thinking. But the battle was far from over. A second wave of larger, more heavily armed ships appeared, their weapons glowing ominously. Lucas studied their approach, noting that their strength lay in overwhelming force. "We cannot meet them head-on," he said. "We must use the terrain of the asteroid belt nearby. I can guide our ships through it, using the asteroids for cover and ambush points." Saria's eyes glimmered with approval. "Lead the way, human. Show me what your people can do." Lucas felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The asteroid belt was dangerous. One mistake could destroy their fleet. Yet he trusted his calculations, his instincts, and the creativity that had carried humans through countless challenges. He began issuing commands, guiding the fleet through the twisting paths of the asteroids. Enemy ships fired, but the Zalarians used the terrain to their advantage, dodging attacks and striking from unexpected angles. Hours passed in a tense rhythm of strategy, movement, and improvisation. Lucas realized that the enemy had underestimated the human mind, and that underestimation was their greatest weakness. He continued to adapt, finding solutions on the fly, coordinating maneuvers, and exploiting opportunities that no one else would have seen. Saria observed him closely, noting not just his intelligence but his courage. "You are more than an engineer," she said quietly. "You are a strategist, a thinker, and a force in your own right." Lucas felt a strange pride mixed with exhaustion. He had never considered himself a hero. Yet here he was, making decisions that could determine the fate of thousands, guiding a fleet through chaos, and proving that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, capable of extraordinary feats. Suddenly, a warning signal blared. A massive enemy cruiser was approaching the flagship directly, moving faster than predicted. Lucas analyzed the situation. "If we cannot stop it, it will reach the flagship in minutes," he said. "But I have an idea." Saria's golden eyes met his. "Then act. Trust yourself." Lucas focused, thinking quickly. He rerouted energy from the fleet's auxiliary shields to create a concentrated burst, aimed at the enemy cruiser's engines. The calculation was risky. If he misjudged, it could backfire. He activated the sequence. The cruiser shuddered as the energy pulse struck, causing a chain reaction that disabled its engines. It drifted helplessly, unable to continue its attack. The fleet erupted in silent relief, and Lucas allowed himself a small smile. He had done it. Human ingenuity had saved the flagship once again. But the battle was not over. More enemy ships were approaching from different angles, testing every strategy he could devise. Lucas realized that victory depended on constant adaptation, quick thinking, and the ability to anticipate moves that no one else could predict. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a growing confidence. Humans were capable of rising to challenges that seemed impossible. Saria moved to stand beside him. "Your people are remarkable," she said softly. "I have seen generations of Zalarians, but your kind has a spark that cannot be taught. Creativity, courage, adaptability, it is the difference between survival and triumph." Lucas felt a warmth spread through him. He had always thought of humans as ordinary, clever in small ways, but here, in the vastness of space, he realized that humans had something unique. The ability to see solutions where others saw only problems, to act when others hesitated, and to turn even desperation into opportunity. The battle continued for hours, the shuttle and fleet moving with precision, guided by Lucas' calculations and strategies. Enemy forces fell back, unable to match the ingenuity and adaptability of the humans and Zalarians working together. Lucas felt exhaustion creeping in, but he refused to stop. Each successful maneuver reinforced his belief that humans could face challenges no one else could. Finally, as the last enemy ships retreated, the fleet regrouped. The flagship was intact, the Zalarians had suffered minimal losses, and the planet below remained safe. Lucas allowed himself to breathe, feeling the thrill of accomplishment. He had not only survived the battle, he had influenced its outcome, proving that humans were more than ordinary, more than observers in the galaxy. Saria approached him, her expression one of respect and admiration. "You have done well, Lucas. Today, humans have shown their worth not just as individuals, but as a species. Your creativity, adaptability, and courage have turned the tide." Lucas felt a mixture of pride and humility. "I just did what I could," he said, though he knew it was more than that. It was human ingenuity, the ability to think differently, that had made the difference. Saria placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "It is more than enough. You have shown that humans are essential to the future, not just of my empire, but of the galaxy itself. And I am honored to have you by my side." Lucas smiled faintly, feeling a connection not only to Saria, but to the countless humans who had come before him. Their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability had shaped history in ways the galaxy would never fully know. And now he was part of that legacy, proving once again that humans could rise to challenges no one else could meet. As the fleet moved to safer regions, Lucas allowed himself a moment of reflection. The battle had tested him in ways he could never have imagined, yet he had succeeded. He realized that being human was not a limitation, it was a strength. Humans could innovate, adapt, and overcome obstacles that others deemed impossible. Saria watched him silently, her golden eyes reflecting both pride and hope. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we will face new challenges, but today we have shown that humans are not only capable but extraordinary." Lucas nodded, exhaustion giving way to determination. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers, mysteries, and opportunities. And now he knew that humans had a place in shaping that future. He had survived, adapted, and influenced events in ways that no one could have predicted. And beside him, Saria stood as a queen, a leader, and a witness to the extraordinary potential of humanity. As night fell across the distant planet below, Lucas gazed out at the stars. He knew the journey was far from over, but he also knew that humans had something no other species could replicate: ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt. And with those qualities, he felt ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store. For the first time, Lucas truly understood the words Saria had spoken when they first met. Humans were not ordinary. They were capable of greatness, of influencing events on a scale few could imagine. And as he prepared for the challenges ahead, he felt the strength of his species behind him, a force that could change the fate of the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly outside the viewport of the flagship, stars glittering like distant fires. Lucas, he, stood beside Saria, she, feeling a sense of accomplishment, but also awareness that the greatest challenges were yet to come. The previous battle had shown the power of human ingenuity, yet the enemy that had attacked the station remained a threat. They were cunning, relentless, and clearly underestimated humans. Lucas knew that the next steps would determine the future of not only Saria's empire, but of countless worlds across the galaxy. Saria moved to a central console, her golden eyes scanning the strategic holograms of fleets and planets. "The enemy is regrouping," she said calmly. "They will not give up easily, but we have an advantage: human creativity. Their assumptions about predictability will be their downfall." Lucas nodded, taking a deep breath. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but he also felt the thrill of purpose. Humans had survived against odds no other species could endure, and now he would prove that their abilities could influence the galaxy in ways no one expected. He studied the maps and trajectories, tracing possible approaches, alternate routes, and defensive positions. Unlike the Xylarians, who relied heavily on tradition and strict protocols, Lucas thought freely. He considered ideas that would seem reckless to others, yet were logical when viewed through human ingenuity. He realized that the key to victory was not just firepower, but unpredictability, adaptability, and strategy. "Your thinking is unlike anything my advisors have ever seen," Saria said softly. "They follow rules. You break them in ways that are necessary. That is why you are important." Lucas felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had always seen himself as ordinary, capable of fixing machines and solving problems. But now he understood that humans had an extraordinary ability, the capacity to see solutions where others saw only obstacles. He could shape events, guide fleets, and influence outcomes because his mind did not adhere to convention. As the enemy fleet appeared on the sensors, Lucas quickly analyzed their approach. "They are attacking in 3 groups," he said, tracing their projected paths. "The first 2 waves are a distraction. The main strike is coming in from the 3rd group. If we lure them into a narrow passage near the asteroid field, we can force them to split their firepower. I can coordinate our fleet to create a controlled ambush." Saria's expression brightened. "Do it, Lucas. The galaxy has not yet seen what humans are capable of." Lucas moved quickly, sending orders through the fleet, rerouting energy, opening shields in strategic bursts, and guiding ships into hidden paths. The enemy fleet advanced, confident in their strength, unaware of the trap being set. Lucas' calculations accounted for every possibility: misfires, deviations, and unpredictable moves. Every decision relied on speed, logic, and creativity. As the first wave of enemy ships entered the ambush zone, the Xylarian fleet followed Lucas' guidance perfectly. Energy beams reflected off asteroid surfaces, creating illusions that made the fleet seem larger than it was. The enemy misjudged distances and angles, their formations breaking apart under the deceptive maneuvers. Lucas' pulse quickened. Every adjustment, every command made the difference between survival and disaster. Saria watched him, awe evident in her gaze. "Humans have always adapted. That is your strength. You create solutions where others panic. Today, we witness that strength in action." The second wave of enemy ships attempted to flank the flagship directly. Lucas calculated timing with precision, redirecting smaller Xylarian ships to intercept them while using energy pulses to disrupt communications. The enemy's coordination collapsed, and they were forced to retreat temporarily. Lucas allowed himself a small smile, but there was no time for complacency. The final wave, the main attack, was approaching, a massive cruiser accompanied by smaller support ships. Its weapons were heavy, capable of destroying an entire section of the fleet. Lucas quickly analyzed its vulnerabilities, noting the patterns in its fire sequences. If we can force it into the central corridor of the asteroid field, its weapons will be less effective. I can create a feedback loop that temporarily disables its shields, giving our fleet the opening it needs. Saria nodded. Do it, Lucas. Trust your instincts. Lucas activated the sequence. Energy pulsed through the fleet, creating controlled interference that the enemy could not anticipate. The massive cruiser entered the corridor, its shields flickering under the calculated pulses. Zalarian ships, guided by Lucas' commands, struck with precision. The cruiser was forced to retreat, and its supporting vessels scattered under coordinated attacks. The battle was over. The enemy fleet was in retreat, unable to match the combined ingenuity of humans and Xylarians working together. Lucas felt exhaustion creeping in, but it was tempered by triumph. They had faced overwhelming odds, and humans had once again proven their worth. Saria approached him, her golden eyes shining. "You have done more than I ever imagined," she said. "Your people have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. Ingenuity, courage, adaptability, these qualities have turned the tide." Lucas shook his head, still catching his breath. I just did what humans do naturally," he said. "We look for solutions, we adapt. We don't give up." Saria smiled, a warmth in her expression that Lucas had not seen before. "Exactly, that is why humans matter, and that is why I brought you here. You have proven that your species is extraordinary, not in power, but in the ability to think, to create, and to act when others cannot." Lucas felt a wave of pride and humility wash over him. He had started as an ordinary engineer, unsure of his place in the universe. Now he realized that humans had a unique role, a power that could shape events, protect civilizations, and leave a mark that no one could ignore. The flagship moved to a safer region, away from the remnants of the enemy fleet. Lucas took a moment to look out at the stars, feeling the vastness of the galaxy and the small but meaningful role he had played. Saria stood beside him, her presence reassuring. "We have won a battle," she said softly. "But more importantly, we have shown the galaxy that humans are not ordinary. Your kind can think differently, act boldly, and achieve what others deem impossible." Lucas nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The galaxy was filled with threats, mysteries, and challenges, but humans had something no one else could replicate: ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. He realized that these qualities had always been part of humanity, quietly influencing history, and now they were being recognized across the stars. As the days passed, Lucas and Saria worked together to rebuild the fleet, reinforce defenses, and strengthen alliances. Lucas' strategies continued to prove invaluable. Every challenge, every problem, every obstacle was met with human creativity and Xylarian precision. They planned defenses, repaired damaged ships, and coordinated movements that left allies amazed and enemies wary. During moments of rest, Saria spoke with Lucas about the history of the Xylarian Empire, the hidden contributions of humans, and the responsibilities that lay ahead. "You are not only a participant," she said. "You are a symbol. Your actions remind all who see them that humans are more than they appear. Your creativity, courage, and adaptability can inspire others." Lucas felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had never sought recognition, only to do his best. Yet now he understood that humans had a reputation to uphold, a legacy to continue. He thought of the engineers, explorers, and thinkers who had come before him, whose innovations had quietly shaped history. And he realized that he was now part of that lineage, continuing their work in a new era. Weeks later, as the fleet moved through a peaceful sector, Lucas stood on the observation deck, watching distant stars glimmer. Saria approached, her expression serene. "The galaxy will remember this day," she said, "not because of power or conquest, but because humans showed what they can do when they act with intelligence, courage, and creativity." Lucas smiled faintly. "I never imagined humans could be so important." Saria's golden eyes sparkled. "They have always been, you just needed to see it for yourself, and now the rest of the galaxy will see it too." Lucas felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had started as an ordinary engineer, unsure of his place in the stars. Now he had proven that humans could shape events in ways others could not, that their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were forces to be reckoned with. He realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown challenges and mysteries, but humans had a place in it, a place of influence, recognition, and hope. As he looked at Saria, standing with quiet dignity, Lucas understood that this alliance was more than a partnership. It was a testament to what humans could achieve when they acted boldly and creatively. It was proof that ordinary beings could make extraordinary differences. The flagship continued through the stars, carrying Lucas and Saria toward new adventures, challenges, and opportunities. Lucas felt a sense of purpose he had never known, a connection to his species, and a knowledge that humans could rise to meet anything the galaxy placed before them. And as the stars stretched endlessly, Lucas whispered to himself, a smile on his face. Humans were not ordinary. They were extraordinary. They were innovators, survivors, and heroes. And now the galaxy knew it too.